My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The bank message came through while I was still holding the keys. Congratulations. Property purchase completed. I stood in the gravel driveway, the country house rising quietly in front of me, pale walls glowing in the late afternoon sun. Birds, silence, space, the kind of silence you earn after decades of noise. I pressed my palm against the wooden door like I needed to feel it breathe. Mine. After everything I sacrificed, this was mine. Then my phone rang. Not a text, not a polite message. A call. From my daughter. I smiled at first. I really did. I thought she was calling to say, "Congratulations, Mom." Or maybe send pictures. Or maybe, just maybe, "I'm proud of you." I answered on the second ring. "Mom," she said, breathless. "Too cheerful. Too fast. We'll be there in an hour." I frowned. "There where?" A pause. "To the house. Obviously." Then she laughed. "Oh, and just so you know, we're about 20. 20. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My mouth stayed open, but nothing came out. "Mom," she said. "Did you hear me? 20 people." I stared at the front door again. The quiet suddenly felt fragile. "Borrowed. An hour," she repeated. "So don't worry about cooking. We'll order something. Order something." As if this was already decided. As if I was already hosting. "Who is we?" I finally asked. Another pause. Shorter this time. Irritated. "You know. Me. My husband. The kids. His parents. His sister's family. 2 cousins. Oh, and Uncle Rashid said he'd come see the place too." My fingers tightened around the phone. "You didn't ask me," I said quietly. Silence. Then, "Well, we assumed." Assumed. That word landed heavier than the house itself. "I just bought it today," I said. "I haven't even." "Mom," she cut in, lowering her voice the way she always did when she wanted control. "Don't make this a thing." That's when I realized I was already the problem. I looked down at the smart doorbell box still sitting unopened on the porch. I hadn't even installed it yet. I planned to do that tomorrow. Planned to unpack slowly. Planned to sit on the floor tonight and eat takeaway alone, just listening to the quiet. I swallowed. "I'm tired," I said. "Today's been long." She sighed. Loudly. "We're family. Family. Funny how that word only comes out when someone wants access." "I'll see you in an hour," she said, already ending the call. The line went dead. I stood there for a full minute, phone still pressed to my ear. Then another message buzzed in. "Family group chat. Weekend plans, Red Heart." I hadn't opened that chat in weeks. It drained me. Too many opinions. Too many jokes that weren't really jokes. But now it was alive. Daughter, heading to Mom's new house. Everyone bring your appetite, faced with tears of joy. Son-in-law, can't wait to see the place. Mother-in-law, hers finally. A proper family gathering. Someone else, who's driving Nana May. Grinning face with sweat. Driving me. As if I wasn't already there. As if I hadn't paid for it. As if this wasn't my house. I scrolled. Photos were already being shared. Someone had taken a screenshot from the real estate listing. My house. My living room. My porch. They were commenting on furniture placement. I felt my chest tighten. I typed. Deleted. Typed again. Finally, I sent one line. "I just arrived. Please don't come today." The typing bubbles appeared instantly. Then stopped. Then, "Daughter. Mom. Why are you being difficult?" Son-in-law. "Everyone's already on the way." Someone else. "It's just one afternoon." Just. Always just. I didn't reply. Instead, I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The house smelled like fresh paint and dust. Empty. Echoing. My footsteps sounded too loud, like I was intruding on my own dream. I set my bag down and leaned against the wall. Why was I the last to know that this house wasn't really mine? My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't the family chat. Bank alert. Unusual activity detected. Please verify recent access. My heart skipped. I opened the app. The loading wheel spun. Once. Twice. Then, some features are temporarily unavailable. I stared. "No," I whispered. "No, no." I refreshed. Again. The app logged me out. I tried to sign back in. Access temporarily restricted. My knees went weak. This couldn't be happening. Not today. Not now. I called the bank. Hold music. I paced the empty living room, counting my steps like that would keep me upright. Finally, a voice. Ma'am, for security reasons, your account access has been limited. Why? I asked. My voice sounded far away. Small. There was a change request submitted this morning. Change request. What kind of change? A pause. Then, authorized user update. Authorized. User. Update. I didn't submit anything, I said. Another pause. Longer. It was approved digitally, the agent said carefully, with supporting documents. My mouth went dry. What documents? I'm afraid I can't discuss details over the phone. I laughed. A short, broken sound. You just locked me out of my own money. I understand this is frustrating. Who authorized it? I demanded. Silence. Then, the request came from a family-linked profile. Family. Again. I sank onto the floor. I didn't know it yet, but that call, that single bank alert, was the moment everything shifted. Outside, I heard gravel crunch. Cars. Plural. I stood up slowly and walked to the window. 1 car. 2. 3. They were early. Laughter floated through the open air. Doors slammed. Voices overlapped. My daughter stepped out of the first car, already filming on her phone. Guys, she said loudly, wait till you see this place. She pointed the camera at the house. My house. I hadn't even hung a curtain. The doorbell rang. Once. Twice. I didn't move. The ringing stopped. Then the knocking began. Firm. Confident. Like they belonged here. My phone buzzed again. Daughter, Mom, open the door. Everyone's here. Everyone. I looked around the empty living room. No furniture. No photos. No proof I'd ever mattered here. I pressed my hand against my chest, trying to slow my breathing. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I walked to the door, unlocked it, and smiled, because that's what I always did to keep the peace. The door swung open and the noise rushed in. Shoes on my floor, laughter in my walls, judgment in their eyes. My daughter hugged me quickly, already distracted. This is perfect, she said. Absolutely perfect. Her mother-in-law stepped inside and looked around critically. So much space, she said. Good for gatherings. Good for us, she meant. Someone clapped me on the shoulder. Didn't think you'd ever buy something this big alone, a cousin said, chuckling. I nodded. Neither did I. My son-in-law leaned in and whispered, Don't worry, Nana. We'll help you manage it. Manage. I caught my daughter's eye. She smiled. Tight. Warning. Don't say anything. That's when I realized something else. This visit wasn't spontaneous. It was planned, and I was the only one who didn't know. I excused myself quietly and walked toward the hallway, my legs shaking. Behind me, I heard her voice. Light, joking, loud enough for everyone. Mom gets emotional about houses, she said. She thinks they mean more than they do. I stopped, stood there, invisible in my own home. My phone buzzed again. A WhatsApp voice note from an unknown number. I pressed play. A man's voice. Calm. Professional. Mrs. May, this is regarding the documents submitted this morning. We'll need to discuss the property ownership structure. Ownership. Structure. I closed my eyes because suddenly the house felt less like a dream and more like a trap. And standing in my hallway, surrounded by family who had already decided my place, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a visit. And this house was never meant to be just mine. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not the fresh paint anymore. Not dust. Food. Greasy, heavy, loud food. Boxes were already stacked on my kitchen counter. Takeout containers I didn't order, bags I didn't choose, napkins I didn't put out. Someone had opened my cabinets without asking. Someone else had turned on the kettle like they'd done it 100 times before. I stood in the hallway, watching my house fill up. Shoes kicked off near the door. Jackets thrown over chairs that weren't even mine. Laughter bouncing off walls that had never heard it before. This place is bigger than I expected, someone said. Perfect for Eid dinners, another replied. Eid. I swallowed. My daughter clapped her hands once, sharp and commanding. Okay, everyone, living room. Let's all sit. Mom looks tired. Tired. She guided me, not roughly, not kindly either, just enough pressure on my arm to move me where she wanted, like repositioning furniture. I sat on the edge of an unopened moving box while everyone else took the chairs. Someone handed me a paper plate, already bent in the middle. Eat, my daughter whispered. You need to keep your energy up. I didn't open it. Across the room, my son-in-law stood up, tapping his glass. Everyone, he said, smiling. Before we eat, I just want to say something. The room quieted. Phones came out. Recording started. I felt it in my chest before he even spoke. This house, he continued, sweeping his arm wide, is such a blessing for our family. Our family. Not once did he say my name. We've all been through so much these past few years, he said. And now, finally, we have a place where we can all come together. I looked at my daughter. She wouldn't meet my eyes. So, he smiled, raising his glass, a toast to new beginnings. Everyone lifted their drinks. To new beginnings. I sat there holding nothing. No glass. No acknowledgement. No voice. That's when someone said it. So, whose name is the house actually in? Laughter followed. Casual. Curious. I felt every eye turn toward me. My daughter answered before I could. Well, she said lightly, it's complicated. Complicated. I opened my mouth. She shot me a look. Not now. Mom handled the purchase, she continued. But we're restructuring things. For everyone's benefit. Restructuring? My son-in-law nodded. We're just making it practical. Long-term. Practical. Long-term. I felt something hot crawl up my spine. I bought this house, I said quietly. The room stilled. Someone coughed. Yes, Mom, my daughter said, still smiling. That's what I said. That's not what she said. Her mother-in-law leaned forward. We all know Nana may work very hard, she said, patting my knee. But at our age, we need help managing assets. Assets. I pulled my knee back. At my age, I asked. She laughed gently, like I was a child misunderstanding a joke. You know what I mean. I did. I looked around the room. They weren't guests. They were evaluating. Space. Access. Future. My phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but I did. WhatsApp unknown number. Please check the shared folder. You were CC'd accidentally. Accidentally. My hands trembled as I opened the link. A folder. Documents. PDFs. Property diagrams. And then, digital authorization form. Submitted. Today, 9:42 a.m. I stared at the signature field. My name was there. Typed. Perfect. Too perfect. I didn't sign this, I whispered. No one heard me. Or maybe they did and didn't care. My daughter was laughing now, telling a story about how difficult the bank process had been. She almost backed out, she said, rolling her eyes. You know how she gets. People laughed. My ears rang. I opened another document. Authorized user edition. Primary access granted. Son-in-law. My vision blurred. Primary. Access. Granted. I stood up so fast the box beneath me shifted. The room fell quiet. I need a moment, I said. My daughter sighed. Mom. I need a moment, I repeated. I walked toward the bedroom, the only room still empty, untouched. I closed the door behind me. And finally, I cried. Not loudly, not dramatically, just silent tears, sliding down while I pressed my fist into my mouth so no one would hear. After everything I sacrificed, I remembered nights counting money, years skipping holidays, putting my dreams on pause so everyone else could live theirs. And now, I wiped my face and looked at my phone again. A new message. Law office missed call. A voicemail icon blinked. I pressed play. Mrs. May, a man's voice said calmly, there appears to be a discrepancy regarding consent on the property documents. We need to speak urgently. Discrepancy. Consent. My stomach dropped. A knock on the bedroom door. Mom, my daughter said softly. Too softly. Don't stay in there. People will talk. I opened the door. She looked relieved until she saw my face. What's wrong? She asked. I held up my phone. These documents, I said. Did you submit them? She froze. Just for a second. Enough. It was just paperwork, she said quickly. Don't make it dramatic. You signed my name. She exhaled sharply. For your own good. There it was. For your own good. You're not thinking clearly anymore, she continued. We just wanted to protect you. Protect. By taking control. By deciding without me. By locking me out of my own money. I trusted you, I said. She looked away. That's unfair. Unfair. Outside, someone shouted for dessert. Laughter returned. Life went on. I want them to leave, I said. Her eyes snapped back to mine. You can't be serious. This is my house. She lowered her voice. If you embarrass us like this, she said, don't expect us to help you later. Help. That word again. I looked at her, really looked. At the woman she'd become. And for the first time, something shifted inside me. I didn't raise you like this, I said quietly. She flinched, then hardened. I'll handle it, she said. Just sit down. She turned and walked away. I followed, back into the noise, into the crowd, into my own erasure. My son-in-law raised his glass again. Before dessert, he said, we actually have something exciting to announce. My heart pounded. My daughter stood beside him. We'll be moving closer, she said brightly. Much closer. Gasps, smiles, questions. Here, someone asked. She nodded. Eventually. I felt dizzy. Isn't that wonderful? Her mother-in-law said, beaming at me. Wonderful. That's when the lawyer called again. My phone rang loudly. Too loudly. Everyone turned. I answered. Yes, Mrs. May, the voice said, clear and firm. We have reason to believe your consent may have been misrepresented. The room went silent. What does that mean? I asked. It means, he said, the ownership may not be legally valid. I closed my eyes. Around me, I felt it, the shift. Confusion. Fear. Whispers. What's going on? Someone asked. My daughter stepped forward. Mom, she said sharply. Who is that? I looked at her. At everyone. And for the first time that day, I didn't explain. I didn't soften it. I didn't protect anyone. It's my lawyer, I said. And the room changed. Faces tightened. Phones lowered. Smiles vanished. What lawyer? My son-in-law asked. I met his eyes. The one who says, I replied slowly, this house might not belong to who you think it does. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. I felt it then, a flicker. Not victory, but power. And as the lawyer continued speaking in my ear, explaining what fraud actually meant, I realized something else. They had moved too fast. They had assumed too much. And they had forgotten one thing. I had stayed quiet for years, but I was done being invisible. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The doorbell camera was still blinking when I noticed it. Blue light. Steady. Watching. I'd almost forgotten I'd set it up that morning, rushing through the instructions while the bank app kept freezing. I told myself it was just for safety. A small comfort. Something mine. I didn't realize it would become a witness. The lawyer was still on the line, his voice low, careful. Mrs. May, please don't confront anyone until we review the full submission trail. I looked around the living room. No one was eating anymore. Plates rested untouched on laps. Someone had muted the TV. Someone else was pretending to scroll, but I could feel their attention sharp and fixed on me. My daughter stood rigid near the window. I'll call you back, I told the lawyer and ended the call. The silence that followed was loud. So, my son-in-law said finally, forcing a laugh that was dramatic. Dramatic. I didn't answer. His sister leaned toward my daughter and whispered, but not quietly enough. She always does this. Always. I felt something inside me go cold. I need air, I said. No one stopped me this time. I stepped outside, closing the door gently behind me. The evening light had shifted, shadows stretching long across the gravel. The cars were still parked in a careless row, blocking my driveway like a claim. I walked to the porch and sat down, my hands folded in my lap. Don't cry, I told myself. Not now. The door opened behind me. Footsteps. My daughter. She stood beside me, arms crossed. You embarrassed us, she said. I didn't look up. You embarrassed yourself, I replied. She exhaled sharply. You didn't have to answer the phone in front of everyone. I didn't have to. I asked softly. Or you didn't want me to? She said nothing. I finally turned to her. When did you decide I couldn't be trusted with my own life? Her jaw tightened. You're twisting this. I asked you a question. She looked away toward the cars. We were just trying to make things easier, she said. You get overwhelmed. I nodded slowly. That's what you tell people now. It's what we see. We. Always we. The door creaked open again. My son-in-law stepped out, phone in hand. Mom, he said, using the word like a tool. Let's not do this outside. I smiled faintly. Why? I asked. Are the neighbors listening? He hesitated. Behind him, I heard movement. The murmur of voices shifting closer to the door. They were curious. He lowered his voice. Let's just finish dinner. We'll talk later. Later. The word that buries truth. I'm tired, I said. I want everyone to leave. My daughter's head snapped toward me. You can't mean that. I do. This isn't just about you, she said. People came from far. So did I replied. I came from years of silence. Her eyes flashed. You're being selfish. Selfish. I laughed. Quietly. You took my signature, I said. You locked me out of my money. And I'm selfish. She opened her mouth, and her phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Her face changed. What? I asked. She shook her head. Nothing. But I'd seen it. The flicker. The doorbell chimed suddenly. Someone was leaving. Then another chime. And another. People stepping out, phones raised, whispering. The doorbell camera recorded everything. I watched them through the app on my phone. Tiny boxes of motion, timestamp stacking. And then, audio. Clear. Too clear. I didn't realize my daughter's voice would carry so well through the open door. She's ruining everything, she said, sharp and fast. I told you she wasn't stable enough to do this alone. I froze. My son-in-law's reply came seconds later. We should have pushed harder at the bank. There was a pause. Then his sister's voice, laughing. She won't fight it. She never does. My breath caught. My daughter spoke again. If she causes trouble, we'll say it's confusion. The doctor already. I stopped listening. No. I pressed stop. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. Confusion. Doctor. Already. I felt the world tilt. Inside the house, laughter resumed, forced, thin, pretending nothing had happened. I stood up slowly. My legs felt steady now. Too steady. I walked back inside. No one noticed at first. They were busy pretending. I cleared my throat. Nothing. I raised my voice. I need everyone's attention. They turned, reluctant, annoyed. I held up my phone. I have a recording, I said. My daughter's face drained of color. You installed a camera, she asked. Yes. My son-in-law stepped forward. You can't just... I can, I said. It's my house. A murmur rippled through the room. What kind of recording? Someone asked. I didn't answer. I pressed play. My daughter's voice filled the room. She's ruining everything. Gasps. Someone covered their mouth. My son-in-law's voice followed. We should have pushed harder at the bank. Silence fell like a weight. Then, she won't fight it. She never does. My daughter lunged forward. Stop, she hissed. I didn't. The last line played. If she causes trouble, we'll say it's confusion. I turned the phone off. No one spoke. No one laughed. No one looked at me. They looked at her. Her mother-in-law stood up slowly. What is this? She asked. My daughter looked around, desperate. It's not. She's taking it out of context. Context. I felt strangely calm. You were planning to say I was unwell, I said. To take control. She didn't answer. That was answer enough. My son-in-law cleared his throat. This is a private family matter. No, I said. It became public when you toasted my house. Someone picked up their bag. Another stood. Chairs scraped. Eyes avoided mine. The spell was breaking. I walked to the door and opened it wide. Please leave, I said. One by one they did. No goodbyes. No apologies. Just shame and silence trailing behind them. My daughter stayed. She stood in the middle of the room, shaking. You recorded me, she whispered. You planned to erase me, I replied. She looked at me then, really looked. For the first time, there was fear. You can't use that, she said. It'll destroy us. Us. I tilted my head. You already decided who us was, I said softly. Her phone buzzed. She checked it. Then again. Message after message. Family group chat exploding. Questions. Screenshots. Speculation. Someone had already posted. She looked up at me. What do you want? She asked. I thought about that. About the years. About the silence. I want my name back, I said. My money. My house. She swallowed. And if we say no? I smiled. Not kindly. Then I won't be the only one explaining things. She stared at me, realization settling in. Outside, the last car drove away. The house felt quiet again. But this time it wasn't fragile. It was waiting. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The house didn't feel quiet after they left. It felt watched. Every creak sounded intentional. Every shadow felt like it belonged to someone who had already decided I wasn't supposed to be alone anymore. I locked the door. Then I locked it again. My hands shook as I leaned my back against it. I had survived humiliation before. I had swallowed worse. But this was different. They weren't just taking things. They were rewriting me. I walked slowly through the living room, picking up what they had left behind. Crumpled napkins, half-empty cups, a scarf I didn't recognize draped over my armchair. Someone had sat there, in my seat. I dropped the scarf into a bag and carried everything to the kitchen. The counter was stained. Greasy fingerprints smudged the surface I hadn't even cleaned yet. I stood at the sink and stared at my reflection in the dark window. Confusion, she'd said. My phone buzzed. Family group chat, 37 new messages. I didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, I opened my email. There it was, unread. Subject: medical summary confidential. Sender: Green Valley Clinic. My chest tightened. I hadn't been to Green Valley in over a year. I tapped it open. The attachment took a moment to load. Too long. Then the words appeared. Patient displays signs of emotional distress, difficulty with decision-making, and possible cognitive decline under stress. Cognitive decline. I read it again. And again. The name at the top was mine. The doctor's signature was familiar. Too familiar. I sat down hard at the kitchen table. This wasn't new. This was planned. My phone buzzed again. A call. My daughter. I let it ring. Then again. Then a text. We need to talk. Now. I typed back one line. About the doctor? 3 dots appeared. Then stopped. Then. You're misunderstanding things. Misunderstanding. I laughed out loud. The sound surprised me. I replied. You used my medical record. No dots this time. Instead, another call. I answered. What did you do? She demanded. I kept my voice calm. You tell me. A sharp breath on the other end. It was just a precaution, she said. In case you needed help. You told them I was confused, I said. You were overwhelmed. You told them I couldn't make decisions. Silence. I closed my eyes. You went to my doctor without me, I continued. You discussed my finances. My house. Her voice dropped. We were worried. Worried. That word again. You were worried I'd say no, I said. She snapped. You don't see how bad it's gotten. Bad for who? For us, she said, then stopped. Too late. I let the silence stretch. Finally, she spoke again, careful now. The doctor agrees you shouldn't be handling major assets alone. I smiled. Slowly. Did he tell you that today? I asked. No, because I spoke to him last month, I said. And he cleared me. Her breathing changed. Shorter. What are you saying? I'm saying, I replied. Someone updated my file. She didn't answer. I opened the document again, scrolling. At the bottom, requested by family representative. Family representative. I hung up. My hands were steady now. I didn't go to the bedroom. I didn't lie down. I went to my bag and pulled out the folder I'd carried with me for years. Old receipts, bank letters, notes I'd never thrown away because something in me always said, keep this. Inside was a printed email from 3 months ago. From my daughter. Mom, just in case, can you send me a copy of your ID and medical card? For emergencies. Emergencies. I'd sent them. Because she was my daughter. Because I trusted her. My phone vibrated again. This time it wasn't her. Unknown number. I answered. Mrs. May, a woman's voice said, firm but kind. This is Advocate Sarah Ahmed. I represent senior rights cases. Senior rights. I was given your number by your lawyer, she continued. We need to talk about undue influence. Undue influence. The words felt heavy, important. I believe, she said carefully, someone may be attempting to establish medical incapacity without proper evaluation. My throat tightened. They used my doctor, I said. Yes, she replied. And that's a problem for them. I closed my eyes. For me too, I whispered. No, she said gently. For you, it's leverage. Leverage. I hadn't heard that word applied to my life before. She continued. We'll need all communication. Messages, voice notes, documents, especially anything involving consent. Consent. The word echoed. I thought of the doorbell recording. I have something, I said. They didn't know I recorded it. There was a pause. Then, Mrs. May, she said slowly, that changes everything. I hung up and sat there, breathing. Outside, night had settled in. The house glowed softly, warm, almost protective. My phone buzzed again. Family group chat. I opened it this time. The messages were frantic. What's going on? Did Nana May really record that? Is this true about the bank? We shouldn't have come today. One message stood out. From my son-in-law's sister. She's not well. This is exactly what we feared. Not well. I typed. I am very well. Please stop discussing my health. The chat went silent. Then my daughter posted. Mom, please. Let's not do this here. Here. Public. That's when I realized. They were afraid. Not for me. For themselves. My phone rang again. This time it was my son. He hadn't been there. He lived abroad. I answered. Mom, he said quietly. Is it true? I closed my eyes. They tried to say I was confused, I said. They tried to take control. He was silent for a long moment. I didn't know, he said. That hurt more than anything else. Did you sign anything? He asked. No. A breath of relief. But they tried, I added. I'm coming, he said immediately. No, I said. Not yet. I needed clarity before comfort. After the call, I opened the clinic email again. This time I noticed something new. A timestamp. The report had been updated 2 hours before the bank request. My heart pounded. This wasn't emotional. It was procedural. Step 1, declare confusion. Step 2, restrict access. Step 3, restructure ownership. They hadn't rushed. They'd followed a plan. I stood up and walked slowly through the house, touching the walls, the door frames, grounding myself. This is my mind, I whispered. This is my body. This is my home. The doorbell chimed suddenly. I jumped. I opened the app. No one was there. Just a delivery. An envelope. Left at the door. No sender. I went outside carefully and picked it up. Inside were printed screenshots, bank forms, medical notes, highlighted sections, and a sticky note. Check the dates. My breath caught. Someone had helped them, and someone else had noticed. I looked at the handwriting. Not my daughter's, not anyone I recognized. I went back inside, locked the door, and sat down. Because now I knew 2 things. They hadn't acted alone, and someone out there didn't agree with what they'd done. As I placed the papers neatly on the table, my phone buzzed one last time. A voice note. From my daughter. Her voice sounded tired. Strained. Mom, please don't take this further. You don't understand what's at stake. I stared at the phone, then whispered to the empty room. Oh, sweetheart. I understand exactly. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The invitation didn't come as a question. It came as a calendar alert. Family intervention, 10 a.m. mandatory. Mandatory. I stared at my phone while the kettle screamed itself empty on the stove. Steam fogged the window. For a moment, I couldn't remember if I'd already made tea or not. See? A small, cruel voice whispered in my head. This is what they mean. I turned the stove off and sat down. Slowly, deliberately. I wanted my body to remember what calm felt like. The alert listed participants. My daughter. My son-in-law. 2 cousins, his mother, a social worker, and a hospital representative. Hospital. My chest tightened. I opened the attached note. Purpose: to discuss Nana May's capacity, safety, and next steps. Next steps. No one had asked me if I felt unsafe. No one had asked me what I wanted. I checked the time. 9:41 a.m. 19 minutes. My phone buzzed. Advocate Sarah Ahmed, do not join alone. I'll be on standby. If they reference medical consent, say nothing and ask for documents. I typed back. They invited a hospital. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, expected. They're escalating. Escalating. I dressed carefully. Chose a soft sweater. Put on my watch. The one my husband gave me before he passed. I wanted something familiar against my skin. At 9:59, the alert chimed again. I joined. The screen filled with faces. Boxes. Some tense. Some smug. Some pretending concern. My daughter smiled first. Mom, she said gently, thank you for being here. As if I had a choice. Good morning, I replied. My voice sounded steady. That surprised me. The social worker spoke next. Mrs. May, we're here to ensure you're supported. Supported? The hospital representative nodded. We've reviewed recent notes indicating elevated stress and confusion. Confusion? There it was again. I'd like to see those notes, I said calmly. A flicker passed across my daughter's face. We can get to that, she said quickly. First, let's talk about how you've been feeling. I looked at her. I feel betrayed, I said, and very clear-minded. An awkward silence followed. My son-in-law leaned forward. Mom, no one's attacking you. I tilted my head. Then why is a hospital on this call? No one answered. The social worker cleared her throat. There was concern about consent regarding property and finances. Concern. I folded my hands. I consented to nothing that removed my access. My daughter sighed. You're focusing on technicalities. Technicalities. My life is not a technicality, I replied. Her mother-in-law jumped in. We all just want what's best for you. I nodded slowly. Then you'll have no problem answering one question. They waited. Who requested this meeting? Silence. Then my daughter said I did. I smiled faintly. Without telling me. It would have upset you. It did, I said. When I found out. The hospital representative spoke again. There is also a consent form on file allowing family members to make decisions if necessary. My pulse spiked. What consent form? I asked. He hesitated. A general medical consent. I want to see it. My daughter's voice sharpened. Mom, please don't turn this into a courtroom. Courtroom. Interesting choice of word. I'm not, I said. I'm asking for my signature. The hospital representative shifted. I can share the document. Now, I said. The screen refreshed. A PDF appeared. My name at the top. My heart pounded. I scrolled. And there it was. A signature. Mine. Dated 6 months ago. I stared at it. That's not my signature, I said. My daughter leaned closer to her camera. You signed it at the clinic, remember? After your checkup. I looked at the date. 6 months ago. The day I'd gone in for routine blood work. The day she'd insisted on coming just in case. You handed me a clipboard, I said slowly. You said it was for insurance. She looked away. The social worker frowned. Mrs. May, are you saying you were misled? Yes, I said. The hospital representative cleared his throat. If that's the case, we'll need to review. My son-in-law interrupted. This is getting blown out of proportion. I felt something snap. Stop speaking for me, I said sharply. The room froze. I took a breath. I want this meeting recorded, I said. And I want legal counsel present. My daughter's eyes widened. You don't need lawyers. I smiled. That's usually when you do. She closed her eyes briefly. Mom, please, she said. Do you know what this will do to the family? Family. I leaned closer to the camera. Do you know what you've already done to me? Silence. The social worker spoke softly. Mrs. May, if consent was obtained improperly, that's serious. Very serious. The hospital representative nodded. We may need to suspend family-authorized access until clarification. My daughter panicked. No, wait. I raised my hand. Enough, I said. My heart was racing now, but my voice stayed calm. I revoke all medical and financial consents effective immediately, I said. Please note that. The hospital representative nodded again. Understood. My daughter stared at me. You can't just. I can, I said. And I just did. Her face crumpled. Why are you doing this to us? She whispered. I didn't raise my voice. I'm doing this for myself. The call ended abruptly. Boxes disappeared one by one, until only my daughter remained. She looked small on the screen. Angry. Scared. Cornered. You're destroying everything, she said. I shook my head slowly. No, I replied. I'm finally seeing it. She disconnected. The screen went black. I sat there for a long time after. Then my phone buzzed. Advocate Sarah Ahmed. Excellent. They overreached. Hospital access suspended. Next, the house. The house. My chest tightened again. Before I could reply, another notification appeared. Email legal services. Subject. Urgent property consent review. I opened it. My breath caught. Attached was a hospital consent addendum, and beneath it, a clause referencing future residential planning. Residential. Planning. They hadn't just planned to manage my house. They'd planned to move me out of it. I stared at the words until they blurred. Then I whispered. So that's why they were in such a hurry. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mrs. May, a man said. This is the notary who processed your property documents. My stomach dropped. Yes. There's something you should know, he continued carefully. The request to add secondary control didn't come from your daughter. I sat up. Who did it come from? He hesitated, then said the name. A name I hadn't heard in years. A name I never expected. And suddenly everything, the rush, the pressure, the silence, made sense. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The name, he said, didn't belong in my present. It came from a part of my life I'd packed away carefully, like winter clothes you don't throw out, but don't expect to wear again. I'm sorry, I said into the phone. Can you repeat that? The notary hesitated. The request for secondary control, he said slowly, came from Mr. Khalid Rahman. The room seemed to tilt. Khalid Rahman, my brother. I ended the call without another word and sat very still at the kitchen table. My brother had not spoken to me in 11 years. Not since the day we buried our mother and argued quietly beside her grave about the will. Not since he accused me, his exact words, of manipulating sentiment. I hadn't cried then. I cried now. Not loudly. Just the kind of tears that come when the past collides with the present so hard you can't tell which one hurts more. My phone buzzed. Advocate Sarah Ahmed, what's wrong? I typed back. It was my brother. A long pause. Then, that explains the urgency. Urgency. Yes. I stood and walked to the living room, my bare feet cold against the floor. The house felt different now, not invaded, not threatened. Targeted. I opened the folder of documents again, hands steadier than I expected. There it was, buried 3 pages deep. Contingent interest, Khalid Rahman. My breath caught. This wasn't new. This clause had existed for years, hidden inside a family trust my father had set up long before he died. It was meant to protect property if something happened to me. If, not when, not now, but someone had activated it. I scrolled further. A timestamp. The request to invoke the clause had been submitted 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks. Before I bought the house. Before the bank alert. Before the surprise visit. This wasn't reaction. This was choreography. My phone rang again. This time, I knew who it would be. I answered. Call it, I said. Silence. Then. So, he replied, calm as ever. You finally figured it out. I closed my eyes. You've been watching me, I said. I've been protecting family interests, he corrected. Family. Again. You haven't called me in over a decade, I said. But suddenly you're involved in my finances? You've always been emotional, he said gently. That makes you vulnerable. Vulnerable. The word burned. You coordinated with my daughter, I said. Another pause. She came to me, he replied. Concerned. Concerned. Always that word. You told her I was unstable, I said. I told her the truth, he said. That you make decisions with your heart. I laughed bitterly. And you make them with what? Control. He ignored that. You bought property without consulting anyone, he continued. That worried us. Us. There it was. You mean it worried you, I said. Because if I stay independent, your clause stays dormant. Silence. Longer this time. You're misinterpreting. No, I said softly. You miscalculated. His voice hardened. You think recording a few conversations makes you powerful? No, I replied. I think underestimating me made you careless. He scoffed. Do you know how this looks? He asked. A woman your age buying property alone, accusing family of fraud? I straightened. A woman my age, I repeated slowly, who paid cash, passed every evaluation, and now has proof of coercion. You won't win, he said. I don't need to, I replied. I just need to be heard. He laughed. You always were dramatic. I smiled. And you always confused silence with weakness. I hung up. My hands were shaking now, but not from fear. From clarity. I called Advocate Sarah immediately. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. This is bigger than I thought, she said, but also cleaner. Cleaner? How? I asked. Because your brother made a mistake, she replied. He acted before legal incapacity was established. I felt something rise in my chest. Hope. He pushed too soon, she continued. That opens the door to a counterclaim. Counterclaim. The word felt powerful. What do I do? I asked. You stop explaining, she said, and you let them panic. That evening, the messages started. Not from my daughter, from extended family, aunts, cousins, people who hadn't spoken to me in years. We heard there was confusion. Are you okay? Khalid is just worried. Worried. I didn't reply. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I posted, not on Facebook, on the family WhatsApp group. One message, carefully worded. For clarity, I am medically competent, financially independent, and legally represented. Any further discussion of my health without consent will be documented. Read receipts appeared instantly. Blue ticks, one by one. No replies. Minutes later, my daughter called. I didn't answer. She sent a voice note. Her voice trembled. Mom, I didn't know Uncle Khalid was doing all this. I swear. He said it was temporary. Temporary. That word again. I typed back one line. You gave him access. She replied immediately. He's family. I stared at the screen, then deleted the chat. Not blocked. Deleted. Silence can be louder than anger. The next morning, I received an email from the bank. Account access fully restored. I stared at it for a long moment. Then another email arrived. Secondary authorization request rejected. Rejected. I felt my shoulders drop for the first time in days. I poured myself tea and sat by the window, watching light spill across the yard. The house felt warmer. Owned. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Mrs. May, a woman said. This is Farah Rahman. I froze. My brother's wife. We need to talk, she said. I don't think so, I replied. Please, she insisted. Khalid is very upset. I smiled faintly. So am I. She sighed. You don't understand what you've done. I looked around my house. I understand perfectly, I said. I stopped being convenient. She lowered her voice. If this goes to court, she warned, it will get ugly. I leaned back. It already did, I replied. You just didn't think I'd notice. I hung up. That afternoon, Advocate Sarah sent me a draft. A legal notice. Clear. Firm. Unapologetic. I read it twice. Then signed. My name. In my handwriting. Strong. Undeniable. That evening, my daughter showed up at the door. Alone. No camera. No entourage. I didn't open it immediately. I watched her through the doorbell app. She looked smaller than I remembered. Finally, I opened the door. She burst into tears. I didn't know he'd take it this far, she sobbed. I said nothing. She looked up. You're really doing this, she said. You're choosing the house over us. I shook my head slowly. No, I said. I'm choosing myself. She stared at me. And for the first time, she was afraid. Not of losing a house, of losing control. As she left, I locked the door behind her and leaned against it, breathing deeply. Because now they knew. The quiet woman, the patient one, The one who stayed silent to keep the peace. She was gone, and the next move would be mine. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The envelope was thicker than the others. Cream paper. Embossed seal. My full name typed neatly, formally, like it belonged to someone important. I knew what it was before I opened it. Court papers always feel heavier than they are. I carried it inside, set it on the table, and made tea first. That wasn't delay. That was control. I refused to let a piece of paper decide the pace of my breath. When I finally opened it, I didn't rush. Notice of petition. Request for protective oversight. Oversight. I read the words slowly, carefully, like they might rearrange themselves if I didn't give them power. Filed by Khalid Rahman. There it was again. My brother. He hadn't waited. He hadn't apologized. He'd escalated. I sat back and stared at the ceiling. I wish I could say I was shocked, but I wasn't. What surprised me wasn't the filing, it was the timing. He'd filed it after my access was restored, after consents were revoked, after he knew I was represented, which meant one thing. He was desperate. My phone buzzed. Advocate Sarah Ahmed, I see it. He moved fast. Sloppy. Sloppy. That word made me smile. I typed back. What now? Her reply came quickly. Now we respond. And we don't just defend, we expose. Expose. The word sent a quiet thrill through me. Not joy. Not revenge. Relief. By afternoon, the family had fractured. I didn't hear it directly. I felt it through the sudden silence, the removed group chats, the messages that never came. Then, like a crack spreading through glass, the calls started. First, my cousin. Nana, she said carefully. Is it true Khalid filed something? Yes, I replied. A pause. He didn't tell us that. Of course he didn't. Then my aunt. Your brother says he's worried about you. I'm worried about him, I said calmly. He's making false claims. She sighed. He's always been controlling. Always. Funny how truth comes out when pressure builds. By evening, the messages shifted tone. Not concern. Fear. Is this going to court? Do we need lawyers? Why is my name mentioned? Mentioned. That caught my attention. I opened the attachment Sarah had sent earlier. A preliminary response draft. And there, listed neatly under interested parties, were names I recognized. My daughter. My son-in-law. 2 cousins. They hadn't just watched. They'd signed affidavits. My chest tightened. So that's how deep it went. My phone rang. My daughter. I answered. Her voice cracked immediately. He named me, she said. He put me in it. I closed my eyes. You gave him access, I replied. He said it was just paperwork, she cried. He said it was protection. Protection. I was tired of that word. He used you, I said. The same way you used me. Silence. Then, what do I do? She whispered. For a moment, I wanted to comfort her. Old habits die hard. Then I remembered the doorbell recording. The signatures. The whispers about confusion. You tell the truth, I said. She sobbed. I can't, she said. If I do, everything falls apart. I stared out the window at my yard, the grass just beginning to settle into the soil. Then it already has, I replied. I ended the call. That night, I barely slept. Not because I was afraid, because my mind wouldn't stop connecting dots. The clinic, the bank, the trust clause, the rushed visit, the intervention. This wasn't one bad decision. It was a coordinated attempt. And Khalid wasn't the mastermind. He was the face. I realized it just before dawn. The real power sat somewhere quieter. Someone who benefited without appearing. I got out of bed and opened my laptop. I searched through the trust documents again, slower this time. There, a name repeated in administrative notes. Not Khalid's. A firm. RNA Holdings. I frowned. That wasn't family. I dug deeper. Property records. Corporate filings. And then, I saw it. RNA Holdings had acquired 3 properties in the same area over the last year. One of them bordered mine. My stomach dropped. This wasn't about me living alone. This was about land. My phone buzzed. Sarah, you see it too? I typed back with shaking fingers. They wanted consolidation. Her reply came after a pause. Yes, and your brother is financially tied to them. I leaned back, stunned. So that was it. The house wasn't the end game. It was the missing piece. My independence had been an inconvenience. My silence had been expected. And my refusal? Unacceptable. By mid-morning, a process server arrived. Another envelope. This one thinner. Inside was a notice of hearing. Date. Time. Location. Real. Public. My hands didn't shake this time. I called my son overseas and told him everything. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I'm proud of you." That almost broke me. Later that day, something unexpected happened. My cousin, the same one who'd signed an affidavit, showed up, unannounced. She stood on the porch, eyes red. "I didn't know," she said immediately. "He told us you'd agreed." I studied her face. "Did you read what you signed?" I asked. She shook her head. "He said it was temporary, just to slow you down." "Slow me down?" I nodded. "Would you be willing to say that?" I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." The first crack. An hour later, another call. My son-in-law. His voice was tight. "This is going too far," he said. "You went too far first," I replied. He lowered his voice. Khalid promised this would never reach court. I smiled. That's the problem with promises made without consent. He exhaled. "What do you want?" he asked. I thought carefully. "I want you to withdraw your affidavit," I said. "And I want it in writing." Silence. Then, "I need to talk to my lawyer." I ended the call. That evening, Sarah sent an update. Affidavit withdrawn, son-in-law. I stared at the screen. One by one, the structure they'd built was collapsing. But I knew better than to celebrate. People like Khalid didn't retreat quietly. They struck where it hurt most. And he did. At 10:17 p.m., my phone buzzed with a notification. Social media tag, new post. I opened it. A photo of me. Old. Unflattering. Taken years ago. The caption read, "Praying for my aunt as she struggles with her health. Family matters should stay private." My chest burned. Public pity. Public doubt. I closed the app and opened my messages. I typed to Sarah, "He's going public." Her reply came immediately. "Good. Now we can too." I took a deep breath, because this was no longer just about a house. It was about dignity, truth, and the lie that older women are supposed to disappear quietly. I looked around my home, touched the wall, felt steady, and for the first time since this began, I thought, let them watch. My name is Nana May, and this is the part where he thought I would finally break. The notification came just after noon. Not a message, not a call, a live alert. Khalid Rahman is live now. I stared at my phone. I already knew. Men like my brother don't like losing in silence. They don't like paperwork and slow consequences. They prefer audiences. Sarah had warned me the night before. If he goes public, he'll frame it as concern, as duty, as sacrifice. She was right. I clicked. The screen filled with his face, carefully lit, carefully angled. Behind him, a framed verse from the Quran. A plant placed just enough in frame to soften him. He looked tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from stress, the kind that's practiced. "My dear friends," he began, voice low, gentle. I didn't want to do this. I almost laughed. The comments were already flooding in. "May Allah make it easy. You're a good brother. Family matters should be private." He sighed. "My sister, Nana May, she is unwell." There it was. "She doesn't see it," he continued. "And that's the hardest part." I muted the volume. I didn't need sound to understand the performance. He leaned forward. As a brother, as a guardian, I had no choice but to step in. Guardian. I glanced around my living room. My books, my plants, my house, all standing exactly where they'd stood for years. My phone buzzed. "Sarah, don't react. Let him finish." I watched. He spoke about confusion, about safety, about elders who refuse help. He never once mentioned the bank accounts, the signatures, the trust clause, the land. Then he said the sentence that changed everything. "She has people around her who are manipulating her for personal gain." The comments shifted. "Who? That's serious. Protect her. Protect." I felt something settle inside me. Not anger. Clarity. This wasn't an emotional attack. It was a legal setup. He wanted public record of concern to support his petition. I unmuted. And so, Khalid said softly, I ask you all to pray. And to understand that sometimes love looks like action, even when it's misunderstood. He bowed his head. The comments exploded. He ended the live. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I stood up, walked to the window, and opened the curtains fully. Let the light in. Then I called Sarah. He crossed the line, I said. Yes, she replied. And he did it on camera. There was a pause. Are you ready? She asked. Yes, I said. But we do it properly. By evening, everything was set. Not rushed. Not reactive. Deliberate. At 7 p.m. sharp, Sarah sent me a link. Private live stream. Controlled audience. Recorded. Only share it with people you trust, she said. But remember, anything online travels. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I changed clothes. Not dressed up. Not defensive. Just myself. I sat at the dining table. The same table Khalid once told me I should sell. I went live. For the first few seconds, I said nothing. I let silence do its work. Then I spoke. My name is Nana May, I began. And today my brother spoke about me without my consent. Comments trickled in slowly. Some supportive. Some skeptical. I didn't rush. I am not confused, I continued. I am not unsafe. And I am not incapable. I lifted a folder into view. These are my bank statements, I said. From before and after my brother was given temporary access. The comments surged. I flipped pages calmly. These withdrawals were not for my care, I said. They were not for medical expenses. I paused. They were for property-related fees. The chat exploded. I could see names I recognized. Cousins. Family friends. Even someone from Khalid's workplace. I continued. This document, I said, holding up another page, is a trust amendment filed without my informed consent. I leaned closer to the camera. And this, I said softly, is the recording of the day my brother told my doctor I was forgetful. I played it. His voice filled the room. Calm. Convincing. False. The chat went silent. Then, is that Khalid? That doesn't sound like concern. Why is he talking over her? I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I am sharing this, I said, not to shame him, but to protect myself. I took a breath. And to remind you that age does not equal weakness. I ended the stream. I sat there for a long time afterward. My hands were steady. My heart was not racing. It felt finished. The backlash was immediate, but not toward me. Khalid's phone rang first. Mine rang second. My daughter. Her voice was barely audible. It's everywhere, she whispered. Yes, I replied. They're asking questions, she said. At the mosque. At his office. I closed my eyes. I told you the truth would come, I said. She started crying. I didn't know it was this bad, she said. I didn't comfort her. Not yet. An hour later, Sarah called. He's panicking, she said. He called the court clerk. He tried to delay the hearing. And I asked. He can't, she replied. Not now. That night, a message appeared in the family group chat. Khalid had left it. Someone else had added him back. He wrote, This has gone too far. We need to talk privately. Privately. After trying to make me a spectacle, I typed one sentence. You should have asked for privacy before you took my voice. I left the group. The next morning, something unexpected happened. A woman I barely knew knocked on my door. She introduced herself quietly. I work with RNA Holdings, she said. Or, I did. My stomach tightened. She looked nervous. I watched your video, she said, and I recognized the paperwork. I invited her in. She sat stiffly, hands clasped. They've been targeting independent properties, she said, especially those owned by older women. I felt a chill. They approached through family, she continued. Less resistance. Less scrutiny. I said nothing. They promised Khalid a percentage, she said, if consolidation went through. There it was, the missing piece spoken aloud. I don't want to be part of this anymore, she said. I brought copies. She slid a folder across the table. Internal emails. Names. Dates. Plans. I didn't touch it immediately. Why come to me? I asked. She swallowed. Because you didn't disappear, she said. And I think they expected you to. After she left, I locked the door and leaned against it. My legs shook for the first time in weeks. Not from fear, from the weight of it all finally landing. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a system, and I had interrupted it. That afternoon, Sarah called again. Her voice was different, sharp, focused. "We have a surprise witness for the hearing," she said. "Who?" I asked. She smiled through the phone. "The person who drafted the strategy memo." I sat down. Khalid didn't know yet, but he would, soon. And when he did, he would understand something very important. He hadn't lost control because I fought harder. He lost it because I refused to disappear quietly. My name is Nana May, and this is the morning I realized the truth had weight. The courthouse smelled like disinfectant and old paper. That strange mix that always makes you feel small, no matter how confident you think you are. I arrived early, not because I was nervous, because I didn't want to be rushed. I sat on the hard bench outside courtroom 3B, my handbag resting neatly beside me. Inside it were copies of documents I'd already memorized. Dates, signatures, clauses that had once meant nothing and now meant everything. Across the hallway, Khalid stood with his lawyer. He didn't look at me. Not once. He kept adjusting his cufflinks, leaning in to whisper, nodding as if he still believed this was a misunderstanding that could be smoothed over. I watched him quietly. After everything I sacrificed, after everything I stayed silent about, this was how it ended. A clerk opened the door. "All parties, please." Inside, the courtroom felt colder than the hallway. The judge entered, a woman in her late 50s, hair pulled back tightly, glasses low on her nose. She looked tired in the way people do when they've seen too many families destroy themselves over money. "Be seated," she said. Khalid's lawyer stood first. He spoke smoothly, about concern, about duty, about a brother stepping in when a sister could not manage her affairs. "She has been isolated," he said, glancing briefly in my direction. Influenced. I stared at the wooden desk in front of me and thought about all the nights I stayed awake worrying about my children. All the times I sent money without asking why. All the moments I chose peace over pride. When it was my turn, Sarah stood. She didn't rush. She didn't raise her voice. She simply placed a folder on the podium. "This case," she said, "is not about concern. It is about control." Khalid shifted. She began laying it out. The bank alerts, the trust amendment, the recorded conversation with the doctor. The judge listened, really listened, not interrupting, not reacting, until Sarah said one sentence that changed the room. "We will now call a witness previously unknown to the petitioner." Khalid's head snapped up. "What?" he whispered to his lawyer. The door at the side opened. The woman from RNA Holdings walked in. She looked smaller than she had in my living room. Paler. She raised her right hand and swore to tell the truth. Khalid's lawyer objected immediately. "Relevance," he said sharply. The judge raised a hand. "Overruled," she said calmly. "I want to hear this." The woman's voice shook at first, but then she steadied. She described the strategy. Target properties owned by older individuals. Approach through family members. Use concerned narratives to justify access. Khalid's name came up. Once. Twice. 3 times. "Did Mr. Rahman receive compensation?" Sarah asked. "Yes," the woman said. Khalid stood. "That's a lie," he shouted. The judge slammed her gavel. "Sit. Down. Silence." The woman continued. "He was promised a percentage upon consolidation," she said. "Pending court approval." I felt something inside me crack. Not break. Crack open. This wasn't desperation. This was planning. Khalid's lawyer leaned in to whisper frantically. Too late. Then Sarah did something I hadn't expected. She turned toward me. "Nana May," she said gently, "may I ask you a question?" I nodded. "Did your brother ever explain the trust amendment to you?" "No," I said. "Did you sign it knowingly?" "No." "Did you ever tell him you wanted to sell or consolidate your property?" "No." My voice didn't shake. The judge leaned forward. "Mrs. May," she said, addressing me directly for the first time, "how long have you owned this property?" 26 years, I replied. "And have you ever been declared mentally unfit?" "No." She paused. Have you ever missed a bill payment? A tax filing? A legal obligation? No, I said again. She looked down at her notes. Then she looked at Khalid. Mr. Rahman, she said, you've presented yourself as a protector. She removed her glasses. But protectors don't profit from protection. Khalid opened his mouth. Nothing came out. His lawyer tried again. My client was acting in good faith. The judge raised her hand. I'm not finished. She turned back to me. Mrs. May, she said slowly, why didn't you speak up sooner? The question hit harder than anything else that day. I swallowed. I didn't want to divide the family, I said. I thought staying quiet would keep the peace. The judge nodded. I hear that often, she said softly. She looked back at Khalid. And I hear this less often. She flipped a page. There is evidence, she said, of misrepresentation, coercion, and financial misconduct. Khalid's face drained of color. I am suspending all actions related to this trust, she continued. Effective immediately. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Furthermore, she said, this matter will be referred for further investigation. Khalid's lawyer put a hand on his arm. Khalid shook it off. This isn't over, he said, his voice breaking. She doesn't understand what she's doing. The judge's gaze sharpened. Oh, I think she understands very well, she said. She banged the gavel. Court adjourned. I didn't move right away. My legs felt heavy. Sarah squeezed my hand. You did it, she whispered. But I knew better. This wasn't the end. Outside, the hallway buzzed. Phones out. Whispers everywhere. Khalid stormed past me. He stopped suddenly. Turned. For the first time that day, he looked directly at me. You embarrassed me, he hissed. I met his gaze. You embarrassed yourself, I said quietly. He laughed a short, hollow sound. You think this makes you safe? He asked. I said nothing. He leaned closer. There are things you don't know, he said. Things you were never meant to know. Then he walked away. That night I couldn't sleep. Not from fear. From anticipation. My phone buzzed just after midnight. A message from an unknown number. You should check the old property file. The one your husband kept locked. My heart pounded. I hadn't thought about that cabinet in years. The one I never opened after my husband died. I sat up in bed, staring at the message. Then another came. He knew Khalid longer than you think. I didn't reply. I got out of bed, walked to the study, opened the cabinet. The lock clicked easily, as if it had been waiting. Inside were folders I'd never seen. Agreements, correspondence, dates going back decades, and one envelope, my name written on it, in my husband's handwriting. I opened it. The letter inside was short and devastating. If you're reading this, it means I waited too long to tell you the truth. My hands trembled. The truth about what? I sat down slowly, because whatever was in that letter, it explained everything. My name is Nana May, and this is the day I finally understood what all of it had been for. The envelope trembled slightly in my hands. Old paper, slightly yellowed. The kind of paper that carries weight not just because of words written on it, but because of who wrote it. My husband's handwriting. I hadn't seen it in over 10 years. Not since the funeral. Not since the quiet mornings in that small kitchen when he'd brew coffee and whisper secrets I didn't understand yet. I slid a chair close to the study table, my legs unsteady. My heart was racing, but not from fear. From anticipation. I opened the envelope slowly, carefully. Inside, a letter and a small folder of documents folded precisely. I unfolded the letter first. It began simply, if you're reading this, it means I waited too long to tell you the truth. I hope circumstances would never force your hand, but some people cannot be trusted. Some family members will lie, manipulate, and profit from silence. I swallowed hard. I had always believed I knew our family. I had thought I understood loyalty, respect, and boundaries. But my husband, my quiet, methodical husband, was telling me now that I had been blind. That there was a reason Khalid had waited in the shadows, a reason my daughter had seemed hesitant, a reason the trust amendments existed. The next paragraph made me shiver. Khalid has never been the true decision maker. He has always acted for others, entities outside our family. When you purchased the country house, they panicked. They believed your independence threatened a consolidation they'd been planning for years. I felt my hands clench around the paper. He had known. He had always known. I tried to warn you through subtlety, the letter continued. But I underestimated their persistence and your silence. By the time I realized you would act, they had already engaged legal counsel, and your daughter had been pulled into their strategy. I closed my eyes. My daughter, pulled into a scheme she didn't understand. I exhaled slowly. This folder contains evidence, the letter said, of transactions, communications, and intentions they hoped would never see the light. Keep it safe. Trust no one outside your circle and act decisively. You are the only one who can restore what is rightfully yours without compromise. I looked at the folder beside the letter. I had seen some of this before. Yes. Emails, bank alerts, recorded conversations. But this was the blueprint. Every layer of manipulation documented in full, clear handwriting and timestamps. I opened it carefully. Inside were emails between RNA Holdings and Khalid Rahman, detailing percentages, deadlines, and consolidation plans. Notes from property lawyers on proposed temporary guardianship clauses. Copies of letters to my daughter, framed as concern for my well-being. Financial spreadsheets tracking my house, my bank accounts, and even projected future earnings. I read each page slowly, digesting the depth of deception. After everything I sacrificed, I whispered. After everything I stayed quiet for. No, not anymore. I folded the documents back into the folder. My hands were trembling, but my mind was clearer than it had been in months. I realized then what my husband had intended. He had left me the tools to finish what he started. Not for revenge, not for punishment, for justice. I felt a phone buzz. My daughter. Her name flashed on the screen. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I opened the folder again and reviewed one critical page, the original trust clause. The one activated by Khalid. Yes, it had been legitimate, technically. But the paperwork proving his intent, combined with the emails, made it fraudulent in purpose. I texted Sarah immediately. We have everything we need. We proceed tonight. Her reply was quick. I'm on standby. Court prep ready. Are you sure? I paused. Yes. I had been patient. I had been quiet. I had been underestimated. And I would act carefully, decisively, without emotion clouding my judgment. That evening, I gathered the evidence, scanned the folder, and uploaded everything securely to Sarah's system. Then I called my daughter. This time I spoke slowly. Do you understand now why I stayed quiet? I asked. Yes, she whispered. I didn't know. You were never in danger, I said. But you were being manipulated, the same way they manipulated your uncle. I'm so sorry, Mom, she said. I should have questioned it. I shook my head. You did what anyone would do. You trusted family. The next morning, Sarah confirmed everything. Khalid would be called to testify. RNA Holdings would be questioned. The judge had been informed of the new evidence. I sat in my house, looking out at the yard, the trees swaying lightly in the morning wind. I thought about the last 10 years, about silence, about sacrifice, about being convenient for everyone else while quietly being erased. No longer. The courthouse steps were crowded when I arrived. Reporters, cameras, curious neighbors, family friends who hadn't spoken in months. Khalid stood at the far end, trying to appear calm, but I could see it. His jaw was tight, his hands shaking, his carefully rehearsed mask cracking. I walked slowly up the steps, my head high, my shoulders back. Every step was deliberate. When I entered the courtroom, the atmosphere shifted. People whispered. Cameras focused. The weight of years of deception finally pressed down on him. The hearing began. Sarah presented the documents, step by step. The judge reviewed the evidence meticulously. Khalid tried to interrupt, tried to claim misinterpretation. The judge shut him down repeatedly. And then, the final moment, she looked at me directly. Mrs. May, she said, is there anything you wish to state? I paused. I thought about the envelope, the letter, the evidence, the years of manipulation and betrayal. Yes, I said. The room went silent. I have lived my life quietly. I have sacrificed. I have stayed patient. I have given respect where respect was due. And yet I let my voice drop, heavy with the weight of every insult, every misrepresentation, every attempt to erase me. I was betrayed. By my brother. By people I trusted. By those who thought I would not notice. Or worse, that I would stay silent forever. I held up the folder. All of this, I said, is documented. Every lie, every plan, every false concern. The judge's eyes narrowed. I have one final question, she said slowly. Why was none of this brought forward sooner? I looked around the room. Faces familiar, faces not. Cameras rolling. Witnesses tense. Because I said, sometimes patience is a weapon. And sometimes, silence is the shield that protects the truth until the right moment. Khaled's face went pale. The judge nodded. Very well, she said. With the new evidence presented, I am dismissing the petition for protective oversight. Furthermore, the court will initiate a review into all actions taken by Khaled Rahman and his associates regarding this property. Gasps rippled across the room. Khaled sat down. His lawyer pinched the bridge of his nose. The hearing concluded. Outside, cameras tried to follow me. But I walked calmly, confidently, head held high. My daughter caught up with me on the sidewalk. Mom, she said softly, you did it. I didn't just do it for me, I said. I did it so that no one in this family, no one ever, thinks they can erase anyone quietly. Not again. She hugged me tightly. I felt the years fall away. The weight lift. Later that evening, I returned.